Well, and I mean, let's get right into the thick of it because I mean, you're known as one of the best posers, if not the best poser in female bodybuilding. And I mean, I always ask people how difficult posing is for them, and for you, it doesn't seem like it's that much. But what is your journey with posing been like? Were you always this good at posing, or was it something that you just developed over time, where you just are just known as one of the best?
Um, I remember my very first bodybuilding show. It was in Canada, and I had a judge tell me I didn't know how to do a lat spread, and I was like, "What?" And so I back then we didn't really have digital phones, right? They weren't as popular, so I had to wait for the photos to come out. And I was looking at them and I was analyzing it, and I was like, "No, I think I know what I'm doing here." And then you kind of find out why that person said it because he was a young judge trying to get to know me. The wrong way to get to know me, for for starters. But I just kind of like watched how people posed. I watched how people moved, and then I'd pose for my mom, and my mom was really good at knowing what was right and wrong. And I'd pose in front of her, and she'd be brutally honest. Like there was no holding back. So she'd say, "No, that looks like," or "That looks good," or "You need to do this." So at the start, I think it was my mom that kind of like let me do what I needed to do, and then she kind of critiqued me a little bit, and then I just watching and learning, and yeah, we all make mistakes. I wasn't perfect right out the gate. You had to learn, right? But I knew how to hold myself on stage, and I always took time in my posing, and I posed every day for like 30 minutes. And then when it got close to the show, I'd pose for an hour. So that was just how I was. And literally I pose every day because I'm either posing with a client or I'm posing myself in some way, shape, or form. So I always have that about an hour of posing still today. And as you go from show to show, your body changes, so your posing has to change. So what I see a lot too with a lot of athletes, pro and amateur, is they pose one way, and it's this way or no way. And I always go, your body's changed a lot since the very first time. You need to change that posing and feel comfortable in the pose. And remember that we don't have a mirror in front of us on stage. So you have to learn how to feel the pose. So I'm all about feeling the pose. It's a mind muscle connection when you're posing. It's not just go into the pose, it's actually feeling your body going into that pose and feeling what works for you to hit that pose. So everybody has their own little like pinches or pains when they're posing. And I always emphasize those so that they know when I'm not there or there's no mirror, you're gonna know that you're hitting that pose correctly because you're gonna feel certain things when you're on stage.
No, and what would you say really differentiates you from the other competitors when it comes to posing? Because you are winning all these best poser awards, and what I mean, do you just think that it just comes more natural for you, or what do you think really makes you different? Because when even like watching videos of you posing on stage, like opposed to other guests that I've had on, I mean, it's like it's a world of difference, to be completely honest.
I pose with passion is what I how I pose. I like to feel the music. I like to draw in the audience into what I'm feeling in my posing or in that song in that moment. I want you to feel what I feel. So I think that's how I stand out above the others. It doesn't matter the type of song I do. I pose with many different. If you've watched some of my stuff, I mean, I got many different styles, and I keep throwing up some videos that I archived from other clients that I've done in the past, just to give people ideas of what I do. But yeah, I just kind of like have to feel the music, and I tell that with everybody I work with for choreography or just normal pose, like just mandatory posing, is you got to pick a song that moves you, that you feel, and you can tell my athletes that I posed on stage versus others. Like Andrea Shaw, I did her posing routine for Rising Phoenix and the Olympia, and she nailed it. Like I was so proud of her and so excited. I get super excited when I see them perform their routines on stage, even if it's a video. Sometimes it brings tears into my eyes because I can see the passion that I was trying to emphasize when I was doing the choreography and teaching them how to feel their music. So things like that. It's just it's about moving. It's about passion. It's about a work of art. And if you just come up scared with no confidence, you lose that. If you're just like a robot, frontal bicep, turn. or I have to step down, or I have to. No, you're not. Then you're not feeling it. You're just a robot, and everyone's just like, when's our routine gonna be over? I hate to say it like that, but
100%.
it's kind of like, okay, you look like you're hurting yourself up there, like. But yeah. So I think that's what it is with me. I'm confident. I love what I do. Like, it's truly a passion of mine, and I like to help others enjoy that passion as well.
Absolutely, and you're speaking about Andrea Shaw. I had her on, and I almost need to get a bigger camera. She's taking up the whole damn screen, basically. Where I was like, "Good God, you need to like." So when I'm gonna have her on again in a couple of weeks, and I was like, "Yeah, I might need to get a bigger camera just because that's." But yeah, she's amazing. Couldn't, and she's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet too. I mean, she was just an absolute delight to talk to. But
Yeah, it was truly an honor to do. Like, when she hit me up and said, "Hey, I want you to do my routines," and I was like, "Okay."
yeah,
So
here's the thing. Like, so many of the guests that I have on, they're like, "Oh, yeah, Kenny Wallach is my posing coach," and I was like, "Why don't you just contact Janeen Lankowski if she's like known as like the greatest?" Like, so that's what I'm gonna tell him from now on is like, do Janeen
I thank
Lankowski.
you.
Like,
I truly appreciate it.
yeah, well, yeah, because just like do Kenny Walken. I was like, well, first of all, Kenny's not a female, so I mean, but I know he's known as like probably the best posing coach of all time. But it's like get Janine Lankowski on because she's. I was like, just look at some of her posing routines. But out of your poses that you do, and this is a question that I ask everyone: what is your favorite pose to do, and what is your least favorite pose to do?
Actually, I don't have. I love all of them. Um, a true poser will love all the poses. I love all of them. And when I was young, I would say abs and thighs was my hardest one. I used to call it the constipation pose until I really fine tuned it and figured it out. And my clients always say that too. Abs and thighs are so hard until I work with them. And I work with a lot of males as well, not just females. I have a lot of male competitors, bodybuilders, men's physique, all the categories that I work with. And it's just, understanding too how to transition from pose to pose. A lot of people don't understand how important the transition, like the quarter turns are the most important thing. And honestly, this last season, after I threw my back out in Savannah, it was a little bit hard to hit some of my back poses the way I wanted to because my back just would not release, and the vertebrae wouldn't go back to where it needed to go and to stay. So it was a lot of pain in the last leg of competition. I'm not gonna lie, but I just, I sucked it up like a champ because that's what we do, and I never showed the pain until I was at home.
Yeah, well, and for someone who does struggle with the ab and thighs, I mean, that's the number one complaint that we hear of all the time from our bodybuilders is that that's the hardest one. What do you recommend for people to help make it a little bit easier for them? Because yeah, that's one pose where I mean, if you look at someone who's just your average poser, it's hard to not make it look like awkward because it's hard to just sort of be fluid in that pose because you're not. It's just not. It's the least natural, I think, of all the poses.
Yeah, so I mean, the easiest thing to do is one. It's always your breathing. You want to always stretch that pose way up high. You want to stretch it up, and you want to tilt your pelvis under. So half of the pose is done when you tilt your pelvis, and then you want to lean back and then crunch just the upper abs, and everything else will fall into place. So it's knowing how to pose it and working with someone that actually can explain it in an exercise because our brain is really designed to exercise. So some of most excuse me, most of our exercises are actually shown on stage without the equipment. And a lot of people don't see that that balance or that crossover. And I see that for everything. Like whenever I see a body or whenever I see someone posing, I'm like, oh, I bet you that person pulls this exercise a little bit wrong. They don't feel the mind muscle connection. And usually when I work with them and I ask them, they're like, yeah, I totally don't do it like that. Like, oops. And then I'm like, well, we need to fix that exercise and work on your posing at the same time. So um yeah, so that's the easiest way to do an abs and thighs.
Well, and that's why I tell them too. It's like you're going to be more sore from most of your posing sessions than you are from your actual workouts because the body's not to be in that flexed amount of state for that long a period of time.